Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about why it is that fearful avoidants tend to sabotage healthy relationships. If this is something you're familiar with or that you've noticed is a pattern within yourself or anyone that you may know, stick around because I'm going to be sharing 3 main reasons why this happens and what you can do about this. But first, if you're new to my channel, my name is Marcella. I'm an attachment practitioner trained by Tice Gibson in the Personal Development School. I have a bachelor's degree in business and I'm the owner of the Fearless Love Academy, where I help women change your mindset to change your love story after trauma. So let's dive in. First main reason why this happens is that fearful avoidants tend to grow up in very chaotic environments. Usually they had caregivers or parents who would be fighting quite often. There was a lot of yelling in the home, maybe a lot of emotional volatility. And so this individual makes the association that chaos equals love, and that if we aren't fighting, then that must mean that we don't love each other or that we are falling out of love, right? Fighting means love in the fearful avoidance mind, because why? When we are young, this is when we are learning what the world is. We're kind of picking up our initial beliefs about how things should be. So when these are your initial experiences, this is why the fearful avoidant tends to pick up this belief about what love should be. So the fearful avoidant tends to believe love is chaotic, that fighting means that we love each other, that there should always be these highs and lows. Additionally, maybe the fearful avoidant had some instability in earlier years. Maybe they had to move quite often and had to transfer schools quite often. So there was never really this sense of like calm and being safe in like a relaxed environment, right? It was always like moving around, like things changing. And so the fearful avoidant has a very hard time kind of like settling in, right? And imagine you get into a healthy relationship and you go through the dating phase, and then there's kind of like the honeymoon phase where things are really well, everything's going really good. But then when you move out of the honeymoon phase and things start calming and settling down, this is where the fearful avoidant tends to have a lot of trouble, because they're used to having like chaos going on and they equate that with love. So when things are too calm, the fearful avoidant tends to feel very unsafe and starts to think that something bad is going to happen. They're not used to that. And so this is why fearful avoidants have a very hard time in relationships after that initial honeymoon phase starts wearing off, where there's not so much infatuation anymore, any more heightened experiences where you guys are super in tune with each other and nothing bothers you and you're just so excited to hang out all the time, right? When this wears off, the fearful avoidant is known to have a lot of issues in this phase, and a lot of fears start kicking in for them, and they start thinking like things are going wrong in the relationship, that this person's losing interest, but actually it's a natural part of the process. But because fearful avoidants have that subconscious comfort zone around chaos, this means that when things are settling in, they don't know how to manage this and they start feeling unsafe because it's not familiar. And our brain does this thing when I say subconscious comfort zone. This means like what you've been exposed to repetitively and you've learned to believe this is the way it is about the world, like the way it is, let's say in love for this example, right? Brain equates what's familiar with safety. So when you're exposed to calm in a sense, right, that's not familiar, therefore it must be unsafe, and your brain and you might find that you find ways to kind of sabotage that connection. Number 2, this is going to be core wounds that the fearful avoidant has around feeling unworthy and undeserving of love. So fearful avoidants tend to struggle very deeply with, feelings of being undeserving and unworthy of love. And where this typically stems from is growing up in homes where maybe you weren't allowed to like have boundaries, or you weren't allowed to speak your needs or your opinions, or maybe you would go to your caregivers and for some reason or another they had all these other things going on. Maybe they were struggling with addiction, or they had a lot of depression or some kind of personality disorder, right? These are grounds for the caregiver not really showing up for the child. And in these instances, the child is not able to process why this is happening. So instead, what happens is the child goes, oh my gosh, I must be unworthy of love. I must be undeserving of love because as children, we don't know why things are happening. So we tend to personalize them in the form of I am statements, and they become our core wounds. And just imagine as a child, right, wanting connection and needing somebody to really be there for you and show up for you. And then you look around and maybe you see other children, you know, being able to go to their parents or their caregivers and get their needs met. And this kind of leaves you feeling helpless if you were the fearful avoidant in this dynamic, and deeply needing something but having no way to get your needs met. So then you just sit back and you just decide, I must not be worthy of love. And what a painful thing. And so with this belief and getting into healthy relationships, right, at a deep level, you don't actually feel worthy of love as a fearful avoidant. You don't actually feel deserving of love. So what happens is when somebody is pouring into you and really trying to show up and meet your needs and look out for you, it's not really familiar. Your brain kind of wants to reject anything that is trying to show you love because you don't believe that it's actually possible. So it's like if you get into a relationship and you believe that you are unworthy and undeserving, your brain is going to start focusing on all the reasons why this isn't going to work out and why this is unsafe and why you should just leave anyways, because at a deep level, I don't feel worthy and deserving of love, right? And this is how core wounds operate. They operate in the sense of like continuing to be reprojected into our reality constantly until we can get a hold on it. Our brain goes, this is unsafe when somebody's trying to show us love, and it rejects it and it tries to push it far, far away. Let's dive into number 3. So number 3 reason why fearful avoidants tend to sabotage healthy relationships is because fearful avoidants don't have a lot of positive associations to what it means to be in a relationship and to actually love somebody, right? Or to be loved in return. They have what we call limiting beliefs around this. And again, you know, the fearful avoidant tends to have limiting beliefs like relationships are bad, or relationships will always end in heartbreak, or people can't be trusted, or my partner will get bored of me eventually and leave. And so even if we consciously crave intimacy and we want emotional connection and love and that depth, right? Like there's these deep inner beliefs that are actually preventing us and kind of putting up these walls that are blocking us from ever even receiving this. So imagine you want love, you crave it, but you don't actually believe that it's possible, kind of similar to the belief of I'm unworthy, right? You don't actually believe these types of things are possible, so you continue to push them away. Like, how can I show up to a meeting? Let's use this example. How can I show up to a job interview and even feel good about what's going on if at a deep level, I don't truly believe that there's any possibility that I will ever get hired for this position? How do you think I'm going to be acting and showing up? I'm probably going to be kind of like shut down, a little nervous, not really putting in my best effort. Why? Because at a deep level, I don't even really believe that this job is for me. I don't really believe that this is even a possibility. And the same thing in relationships. When you don't believe that something is possible, guarantee you're going to show up in that very way, and you're going to act in ways that shows and keeps repeating to yourself and reinforcing that belief that it is not possible, that relationships are bad, that you are unworthy of love, right? So it's very important to get a handle on these things in order to really create change that we want to see. So what can we do about this, right? The first thing I need you to know is that all of these existing things within your personality, within your belief system, exist at the subconscious mind level. So what does that mean? Consciously, you could choose, you can think that you want better, that you want to be better, that you want to behave better, but why can't you actually implement this change? Well, because at a deep level, all of these things are embedded in our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is actually responsible for 95 to 97% of all of our actions, emotions, decisions, and our conscious mind is only responsible for 3 to 5% of this. Now imagine you consciously think things, right? But the conscious mind cannot outwill or overpower our subconscious mind. This has been proven in neuroscience and studies time and time again, which is why if we want to combat these things, we have to do it at the level that it exists, right? So that would be within the subconscious mind. So I do a lot of subconscious mind training and coaching and things like that. That's kind of like what my work is alongside of what I was trained for with Thais Gibson. So what can we do about this? Number one is going to be pouring out all of your negative beliefs that you have around relationships. I want you to get a pen and paper and I want you to write down these 3 categories. Number one, it's going to be men or women, depending on who you're in a relationship with or who you get into relationships with. Number 2, marriage. And number 3, relationships. And I want you to just let yourself free flow. So when you think about this topic, what comes to mind for you? Maybe when you think about relationships, you might think relationships are bad, people can't be trusted. Whatever those beliefs are, I want you to write them down, because by doing this process, you're bringing things that exist within the subconscious mind, introspecting to the conscious mind surface. And then with that, I want you to be able to start questioning every single belief that you poured out individually. I want you to say, for instance, if you said relationships are bad, they always end in heartbreak, I want you to then write, can I know this is true? Is this always 100% true? Is this true for every person? Because you're having this generalized idea that you're basically making apply to the entire world, right? That you live in. Like, it's how you see relationships as a whole. So can I know this is true? Short answer is no. And then finding 3 pieces of evidence to oppose this original belief so that you can show your brain, oh, wait, it's not actually true, right? And what I mean, so if I think relationships are bad, I question the story. Can I know this is true? No. What are 3 pieces of proof that oppose this original belief? Well, number 1, I seen my friend be in a relationship with her husband for the past 5 years and they seem very happy. That's a piece of proof. Number 2, I see my pastor at church and his wife, they've been together for like 20 plus years and they seem to be happy and working out. Number 3, maybe my sister. I've seen my sister in a relationship for the past year even, and they seem like everything is going fine. Like, relationships can be good. It is a possibility. And so by doing this, you're bringing your stories, your subconscious mind content to the conscious level surface and being able to question them and kind of work through them so they don't keep showing up in your life. Next, I want you to be able to work through your core wound of I am unworthy or undeserving of love. And I want you to do this by making a list of how you are worthy and deserving of love. What characteristics and traits do you have that are good about you? And I want you to take this information and write 10 pieces of evidence of why it is that you feel you're worthy and deserving of love. Maybe it's, I'm a very compassionate person. I'm a really caretaking person. I show up very well in my relationships. I really care about people. Whatever that is for you, write 10 pieces of evidence on a piece of paper, and I want you every single morning to read that list for 21 days and just see what happens. If you want to super drive this process, you can even add in, how would I want someone to treat me if I wanted them to show me that they thought I was worthy and deserving of love? What would that look like? And with that information, I want you to start incorporating intentionally these things like a couple times a week to show yourself that you are worthy and deserving of love. So maybe that's taking you out to dinner, and maybe that's buying you flowers, right? Start doing a couple things intentionally for yourself that is showing you that you believe you are worthy and deserving of love. And lastly is going to be working on that subconscious comfort zone around chaos. So if you want to do a deeper dive with me, I ask you to visit my website to see what coaching opportunities I have available. I also have a Fearful Avoidant Blueprint where you can see your traits, characteristics, and how you operate in relationships. So it's important to incorporate some nervous system practices daily to really start winding down and getting your nervous system okay with calm, being able to remind yourself it is okay to be calm, it is okay to be relaxed, I am safe here. And you can do this by simply taking 15 to 20 minutes per day. And I would recommend really doing this for like a month and just taking time to just either meditate or just kind of like be where you do nothing. You're not trying to think about anything, but you're not also trying to control your thoughts. You're just breathing and you're just being. And in this time, it's giving your nervous system time to like reset and be able to know, okay, I can be calm and this is safe and this is okay. And over time, it will adopt this as a new comfort zone. It'll start getting familiar with calm and you'll be able to maintain healthier relationships by being able to be okay with calm. So I hope this helps. I hope it makes sense. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. God bless.